Hi, my name is Sai, and welcome back to Flattr for Designers. In this section of the course, we'll be taking a closer look at the Dart programming language. It's the language we've been using to build our app so far. Most of the code in this section will be Scratch code to get a closer look at how the language works and what we can accomplish with this language. To get started, I'm going to make my IDE full screen. Then, making sure that I have selected the top folder in the sidebar, I'm going to press Command N on my keyboard and select Dart file from the pop-up that shows up. I'm going to name this new file Scratch. You'll see that we're taken to a new scratch.dart file. Now, what we have to do is code the following: void main, add a set of parentheses, and a set of curly brackets. What we have just typed is a function. The main function serves as an entry point to the app. Dart looks for this function when running the code. As you can see, it returns a value of void, which means that this function returns nothing. Now I'm going to get started by going over some variables. Variables store references. For example, I will be typing bar name is equal to Sai, and at the end, I'll be adding a semicolon to mark the end of that line of code. Now, if I type print name and add my semicolon, name should contain the value Sai, so when I print it to the console, it should display below. So I'll go to terminal and I'll type dart run scratch.dart and press enter. And as you can see, it printed my name. Now, name contains a type string. This means that I can't change it to anything else. If I were to make name into a type integer, like 19, I would instantly get an error as shown by the red squiggly lines. If I went down to Dart analysis, it would show the error over here. A value of type int cannot be assigned to a variable of type string. However, if I did want to change the variable name to contain this new integer, I would replace var with the keyword dynamic. Now, if I go to terminal and give the same command, it should print 19. Now let me undo what I did. And instead of the var keyword, I'm going to replace this with string. This lets the code know that name will always contain a value of type string. This helps us if we ever have to refer to the variable name for future references. If I run this code again, it should print my name. Perfect. Now, I told you variables store references, and they can be changed later on during the runtime of your app. However, what if you have a variable that you know will not be changed at all during the runtime of your app? These are known as constants, and they can be marked using the final keyword. They can also be marked using the const keyword. Both keywords provide the exact same value. However, there are slight changes between them. Variables marked final will only be initialized at runtime. This means that every time your state rebuilds, then the final variable will be reinitialized as well. Const, however, is initialized at compile time. This means that if the state of your app reloads, then the variable marked const will not reload. As you can expect, since we'll be doing a lot with stateful and stateless widgets, we'll be using final more often than const. Now I want to talk to you about some of the built-in types that Dart comes with. We've been introduced to the string type, but there's also the int type. To declare a new variable of type int, I'll type int age is equal to 19 and put a semicolon at the end. This declares a new variable called age, which contains a value of type integer. Dart provides many more types apart from strings and integers. We also have Boolean types and double types, but for now, this will suffice. Now I want to tell you how you can perform string interpolation in Dart. Suppose we wanted to print the statement, my name is and your name, and I am your age, years old. This is how it will be done. Within print, let's remove name, and inside a set of single quotations, let's type my name is, and to refer to the name variable, we'll type a $ and name, and that's it. We can also continue this by saying and my age is $age, put an exclamation mark, press save, and type the command in terminal. My name is Sai and my age is 19. Next, let's go over collections. Almost every programming language has some form of collections. Swift has arrays and Dart has lists. They can hold multiple items of the same type. Let's declare a new list. Underneath age, let me press enter and I'll type var hobbies is equal to, I can type coding and biking and reading. Put a semicolon. And now the variable hobbies will contain a collection of all these hobbies. Let me replace the print statement with hobbies. And if I run the command, it should print the collection, coding, biking, reading. Now, as I mentioned earlier, it's good practice to mention what data type your variable will be holding. While Dart will infer that this is a list of type string, let me explicitly state it by placing two angled brackets and in between those two, typing the type of this data. Now, our code knows for sure that the variable hobbies will contain a list of type string. If I print again, nothing should change. Now let's go over how to create functions in Dart. As I mentioned earlier, main itself is a function. It outputs nothing, so it takes void as its beginning keyword and it takes no arguments. We can create our own function as such. Suppose we did void show info, add a set of parentheses, and add a set of curly brackets. Then we could say print my name is Sai and I am 19 years old. Let's add a semicolon. And to call this function, we'll simply type show info, make sure the parentheses are there, and add a semicolon. Now, if we ran the same command to terminal, we'll get the same output. But let's add an argument now to make this more dynamic. We can add string name within the set of parentheses. This means that show info will take an argument of type string called name. And using string interpolation, we can change my name is Sai to my name is $name, and in show info, we'll put Sai. Let's save it, run it again, and it'll work just as well. However, it can be confusing if you have too many arguments, which type refers to which argument. So let's add a set of curly brackets in between string name. And now we'll get an error over here. Dart analysis tells us that we haven't provided the argument expected. This is because we have to explicitly declare that Sai is for the argument name, and everything will work as well as it did before. Now let's create a completely different function that does in fact return a value that we can use. Remove everything inside the main function and type the following. Int add 5, add a set of parentheses and a set of curly brackets. Int number, and then add a set of curly brackets, and then type return 5 plus number, and add the semicolon. Now, exit the function and type the following. Print 5 plus 5 is $, add curly brackets, and then type add 5, and as for your number, let's type 5. Add a semicolon at the end, press save, and run the terminal command. It'll give us 5 plus 5 is 10, as expected. I hope this was a great introduction to the Dart programming language. We do have one last object left to learn about Dart, and that's how to create classes. Classes will help us easily create the remaining portion of our sidebar component, as we can see over here. Without having to enter too much of this code, classes will reduce our workload immensely. So I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.